What's up guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to talk about what if Herbert Hoover won re-election. Now, for this to be even possible, we have to change one big factor, the Great Depression. And I find it very unrealistic that it's just going to disappear out of nothing, so instead, it is going to be delayed. In the 1932 election, Herbert Hoover defeats FDR. FDR wins all the traditional Southern Democratic states, while Hoover carries the rest of the country, even Roosevelt's home state of New York, because the economy is still roaring. However, Black Thursday happens, the 17th of November, 1932, the week after Election Day, and soon the economy crashes and Hoover's popularity plummets. This changes major events around the world, most notably in Germany, as Hitler and his National Socialists are unable to use the Great Depression as a tool to win power. Their power grab is delayed. In 1934, the President Hindenburg dies, and Hitler sees this as his chance to finally grab power. While he lived, he managed to gather the right-wing and the center parties to oppose Hitler, but after he has died, Hitler can now tear this coalition apart and grab the more compromisable parties of the right. Hindenburg's funeral is held in 1934, and the following year, in 1935, it is going to be a presidential election to fill the vacancy. When Hindenburg was alive, every party in the Reichstag, except from his own party, opposed him, but as Hindenburg dies, the more right-wing leaning parties change their mind, as they now have the choice between Hitler and someone on the left. The DNVP, the Deutsche Nationale Volkspartei, which is a national conservative party, decides to support Hitler. The DVP, the Deutsche Volkspartei, which is a national liberal party, is on the fence and will not tell its members what to vote. The rest of the parties either support the Social Democratic candidate or the Communist candidate. In Germany, the electoral system for presidents consists of 2 rounds, and if no candidate receives more than 50% in the first round, it is a second round, where someone might withdraw in order to support someone else, and also the number one vote getter is elected. The election is held between the Social Democrat Otto Braun, the Communist Ernst Thälmann, and the National Socialist Adolf Hitler. And with the economy in the gutter, and without Hindenburg taking away votes that he desperately needs in order to win, Hitler is able to cruise to victory. Meanwhile, in the United States, Hoover is finished, and in the election of 1936, the senator from Louisiana, Huey Long, is able to defeat the governor of Kansas, Al Landon, in a landslide, and he enters office with a Democratic Congress. The following year's major events happen in both America and Germany. In 1935, the Nazis in Germany are consolidating their power, and the next year they are arranging the Olympics. Then, they also clear out all the opposition in their own ranks during the Night of the Long Knives. In 1937, the same year as Long is inaugurated, he is able to pass the Share Our Wealth program, which is a tax and welfare reform. The same year, Germany passes the anti-Semitic Nuremberg laws. In 1938, Long survives an assassination attempt, and, in Germany, Austria joins the Union. In 1940, Long wins re-election, and he also passes the Every Man a King, or the EMK doctrine. This is aimed more at personal liberty and, of course, economic freedom. The same year, the Sudeten crisis in Czechoslovakia leads to war between Germany on one side and the UK and France on the other. World War II in Europe has started. In 1941, as Germany sweeps Western Europe, America starts to build up, and in 1942, their trouble with the Japanese are getting tense. The Japanese campaign in Asia leads America to embargo and stop exporting oil to the country. Meanwhile, major events are taking place in Europe. Germany did not invade Poland in 1939, but when they do, in 1942, Russia intervenes. The Russian intervention is not popular among the Russian populace, and even though they are not declaring war at Germany immediately, and they are going in to secure their own western territories, a few skirmishes later and Germany and Russia are at war. The Soviet-German War has begun. Germany invaded Poland in April, and by May it is a full-blown conflict between the two superpowers. Then the next year, in 1943, Japan has had enough of the embargo, and they decide to attack Pearl Harbor on Hawaii. Japan and the United States are at war. The conflict between Germany and Russia in this timeline is a bit different. The Russian population is not looking at the Germans as the aggressor, and the war is mighty unpopular, as it was during World War I. Germany is facing much less resistance from the civilian population in the occupied territories, and the army morale is also much lower. Germany also has a few extra allies. Vichy France is completely devoted to the war, as is Spain, who has now joined the Axis. In other words, Germany has a strong European alliance fighting against Russia, which only has Mongolia and Tanatuva, both their own puppets, as their allies. Then, on the 15th of August 1943, after a confrontation in the Atlantic Ocean where a German submarine sinks an American ship in a British convoy, Long decides to declare war. This is the latest in a series of skirmishes between the United States and Germany, and it is the final straw, as almost 100 Americans die in the disaster. By this time, the Axis forces have advanced steadily on the Eastern Front, and even though their original attack on Moscow failed, they have been able to capture Leningrad in the north, Ukraine and Stalingrad, as well as the Caucasus in the south, Murmansk in the Arctic, and Moscow is almost surrounded. Then, in 1944, the Soviet Union finally caves in. The Western Allies decide to launch Operation Overlord to try to liberate France and defeat Germany on their own, but this is unsuccessful, as Germany have far too many troops in the West and are much stronger in this timeline. Then, in 1945, peace with honor is signed between the Western Allies and the Axis powers. A Cold War begins between NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, and a Central European alliance led by Germany called the EKV, the Europäische Kriegsverbund. Like FDR in our timeline, Long runs for a third term and wins in 1944. Then, as it is peace, he retires in 1948, and America elects a new president. What happens next? God knows.